So the Financial Intelligence Center is the national agency for the receipt, analysis, and dissemination of information that touches on money laundering, terrorism financing, and proliferation financing. What this means is that we exist to receive information from various sources that could be suspected to be relating to money laundering and those vices I've mentioned. And what the FIC does is that it analyzes the information for purposes of helping with investigations. Having worked in this institution for this while, one thing you start... Money laundering is one of those crimes that knows no borders. You can have a situation where corrupt activity happens in Zambia, but the process of cleaning the proceeds of that corruption can happen anywhere. It can happen through an investment in Zambia. It can happen through an activity in Malawi, or even as far as UAE.
So what we want to produce at the end of this conference is probably a better partnership between countries. We want to promote this cooperation between countries, because this is something very important. So this is on the practical matters. Now, on the theoretical matters, what we want to produce also, it's a manual that would explain to each country what they have to do when it's about beneficial ownership. So the next steps for us will be to produce this manual here, and for us, because we are a global facility, we would like to use what has been done in that region in other regions, South America, Central America, but also Central Asia and Asia. This is what we would like to do. That's the next steps for me.
And particularly where we are looking at issues, what is happening now, most of our issues are being determined on a risk basis. So, which means your institutions have to fully understand what are the money laundering and terrorist financing risks which occur in their own sectors. So, it's one of the areas where the countries benefit in building that understanding and being able to articulate such issues, and also being able to carry out an assessment of the risks so that they can understand those risks and come up with mitigating measures. If you have a weak system, mostly here we are talking of organized crime. So these criminals study countries as much as we want to prevent them from committing offenses. So they know which countries have weak systems on anti-money laundering, anti-terrorist financing, and so forth. So if there's that weak point, that becomes a weak point for the whole region, because that's the point which is now used by criminals to infiltrate perhaps the financial sector, clean their money, and use that money as now legal tender instead of illegal tender.
For us, it was more specific to increasing the accessibility of bioinformation, because we're looking ahead to making sure that the bioinformation is now made public. And we needed to learn from those countries that had already implemented such. And that's where we learned of the UK. And we learned how they mitigated the challenges that they had and so forth. And it has worked for us, because in preparation to making the bioinformation public, we had to meet with the Data Protection Office, the Financial Intelligence Agency, and the members of the technical committee to discuss the challenges surrounding making this information public. And a decision was reached to ensure that we don't disclose sensitive information. So those are some of the things that we learned, including when it comes to the verification of bioinformation. And right now, our spot checks are now being done in an informed way, after learning from the best. When we go out to the spot checks, we know exactly what to do to ensure that we are able to verify the BO information.
First of all, when we received the legislative forms that introduced the BO registry, we were operating a manual register. And you agree with me, like with all manual registers, there are shortcomings and inefficiencies. However, since 2020, we have managed to roll out. We are in the process of rolling out an automated register for beneficial ownership, which we believe will help us reduce the inefficiencies that we have been facing, and also improve the accessibility of the register or the beneficial ownership information, especially to competent authorities. First of all, what we can take back is the need to perfect our model in as much as verification of beneficial ownership is contained. And also, we are very excited and we have learned a lot, some of the approaches that we can adopt to enhance our monitoring frameworks in order to manage the risk of abuse of legal persons and legal arrangements for money laundering activities. Remember, we are a country that we placed on ICRIG. And from our experience, we introduced a new system that we didn't have, the beneficial ownership. So we have also learned the issue of inspections that we see other countries have introduced and are doing quite well in areas that relates to inspection and investigations. It is something that we will take back home and also introduce in our day-to-day operating of beneficial ownership register.